Hello, and welcome to Symbols and Cynicism, a podcast where we talk about all of the things that I love, some of the things that I hate, and this wacky adventure that we call life. My name is Bob, I'm your host, and I'm glad you're here today as we talk about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, have something neat with Matt, and people who come and go during a band show. Let's get started. Welcome back. Super glad you're here. Super glad I'm here. Just everybody's here and it's fantastic. First one is extend a little bit of an apology on last week's episode. It was way longer than I thought. I'm not sure the editing was 100% what we have as far as quality is concerned. There were no links in the description. No excuse is a good excuse, but last weekend was an extraordinarily busy weekend. I told myself I needed to have it done earlier, like Thursday, and it didn't get done. And then Friday got very busy at work. It got date night. Saturday was a cross-country meet, and Sunday was all day at OMEA State Marching Band Finals, and it was just a little piece of edit here, there, and it wasn't what I wanted it to be. And I hope you enjoyed it, but it wasn't what I intended to be. So if you thought this is too long, I apologize. If you thought the editing isn't very good, I apologize. But let's move on and we will do better this week. I am recording earlier this week, so it is already a step in the right direction. A little bit of feedback from this week. I was at a marching band rehearsal early this week, and I'll get back to that in a minute, but I've been listening to podcasts. I was probably late to the whole podcast train as far as, a medium to listen to. And some of my favorite early podcasts were ones that were multiple years old. In fact, one of my current favorite ones is multiple years old. And so you're listening to it. I'm a listen to it from the beginning kind of person. So I'm listening to it and I feel like I'm in the past because they're talking about the 2020 election and like COVID hasn't happened yet and so forth. So I feel like I'm in the past listening to them talk. Like I'm in the future, but I'm in their past or whatever. So this podcast, we're in episode 16. We're not that far in. But so I go to this band rehearsal and a bunch of the staff members listen to the podcast. And that was very special. They were all like, hey, I love this. I love that. And I had merch on. I had on my hoodie, themarchingarts.com/RHS. Anyway, the one staff member says, dude, the merch is out. I said, yeah, the merch it's out. I'm wearing it. It's been out for like a month or something. And he says, well, I'm in the past. And you just started talking about that there will be merch. And it kind of blew my mind that somebody's listening to the past right now. My past is their present. And I've been on the receiving end of that on my phone, in my car, headphones or whatever, but it just melted my brain that we've had enough episodes and been around long enough that somebody is in the past right now listening to whatever episode he had just listened to. So shout out to you, man, from the marching band staff. Hope you caught up to today and we appreciate you. Hopefully you got some merch and love that. Have you seen any sporting news lately? Coaching buyout contracts. In college football recently, James Franklin, who was the coach of Penn State, was fired for doing a bad job, or at least a bad job in the perception of the people who control that sort of thing, right? James Franklin was fired for not being a very good football coach, and he was given a $50 million buyout. He made $50 million to stop being the coach. The school had to break their contract with him, and as a reward or as a penalty to the school, they had to pay him $50 million. That's 800 years of teaching salary. More recently, Brian Kelly from LSU, same thing, wasn't doing a very good job as a coach, not winning enough games or whatever, and was relieved of his duties. He's making $800,000 per month. That's $40,000 a day if you only consider the work week. To not work. That's not what he's making to work. That's what he's making to stop working. They don't want him to be employed anymore, so they're paying him $800,000 a month to not work. Please stop coming to the office. Right? What would you say if you went in to work today, wherever you work? I don't care what you do. You work at Subway, you're a high school kid, or you're a lawyer or a neurosurgeon. You walk in today and your boss says to you, listen, we don't want you to work here anymore, and we're going to pay you $800,000 a month to stop working here. I think you'd be okay with that, wouldn't you? That's not how the real world works. This is monopoly money. Sports is a mess. This is monopoly money. This is pretend fake money. I don't know. It makes me mad when we pay somebody $50 million to stop working. And no, by the way, I do not feel better about this. It will continue to make me mad. Okay, onward. On today's episode, we have a deep dive into the Phantom Menace. We're going back to the prequel era, episode 1. Matt is here for something neat with Matt and people who come and go during a band show. There's a lot to do, so let's get it going. The year is 1999. We haven't seen a new Star Wars movie in almost 16 years. I am in line at a cinema waiting on the line to move for a movie called The Phantom Menace. My excitement is 11 on a scale of 1 to 10. I am so excited. Here we go. The line starts moving. I've got my popcorn. I love movie popcorn. Does anybody else? I would go, sometimes I feel like I would just want to go to the movie just for the popcorn. I love movie popcorn. Here we go. We're going to see The Phantom Menace, but let's back up before we get into it. George Lucas claims that the prequel outline was created in at least short form in the 1970s. He claims that before he made the original trilogy, that he knew the origin of Vader, he knew about the twins, he knew the son would help bring the father back to redemption, he knew about the rise and the fall and all of the rest of it. Maybe not in detailed pieces, but he says he knew the story because he didn't want to write the original trilogy unless he knew enough of the backstories to make it seem right. You can believe what you want, but he claims the seed of the prequel arcs was already there. Now, after a 16-year wait, we're finally getting it. Sure, in 1997, if you were around then, the original trilogy was re-released with digital upgrades, and we've talked a little bit about that when we talked about the original trilogy, so we won't go into that. But that was not new Star Wars. It was old Star Wars that we're seeing again. Phantom Menace, 16-year wait. The movie had a $50 million budget. We are now in an era where you can see movie trailers. There's not YouTube yet in 1997. You could get trailers online. It was hard to do. A lot of people at this time, movie trailers were a much bigger deal. People would go actually see movies just to see the trailers on occasion. In fact, there are estimates that when the Phantom Menace trailer came out, half to 3/4 of the theater would get up and leave the theater after the Phantom Menace trailer aired. People were buying full price for tickets, going in, watching just the trailers, and then leaving. I could see that being exaggerated. I did not do that. This movie features well-known actors. That's a little bit different than the original trilogy, such as Liam Neeson, Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, Ian McDormand, and Samuel Mother Effin Jackson is in this movie. Liam Neeson signed without even reading the script. Ewan McGregor, while on set, he had to be asked multiple times to please stop making lightsaber noises during taping. and was heard several times under his breath muttering, "I can't believe I'm in a freaking Star Wars." This was not the struggle of the original trilogy. People wanted to be in this movie. These people grew up with Star Wars. In 1999, I was in my late 20s. I would have gladly been in a Star Wars. Now, there were problems. They did have to spend big time for everything because everybody knew this was going to be a blockbuster. One other funny story is they built a lot of the sets, then realized Liam Neeson is extraordinarily tall. He's like 6'5", and they had to redo some of the sets so that he could walk around and that the top of the sets would still be in the shot. This is also the first time George Lucas has directed a film since A New Hope. There was high anticipation, high pressure, big money. So now we're in the theater, the lights go down, I'm excited. On the screen, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I'm about to burst. The fanfare, OMG, OMG. By the way, we weren't saying OMG in 1999, but anyway, the scroll hits and we're reading about taxation and trade and shipping and political debates. What the frick? Are you kidding me? Pause. Taxation, trade, shipping, and debates? The last time we saw Star Wars, we were blowing up Death Star 2.0. There was a battle with Vader. Like, the good man, what? We've waited 16 years for trade routes and taxation? Well, look, if you know history, a lot of wars don't start based on something super exciting. A lot. And this is one of them. In the fandom, we hear a lot about the prequels suck. Do they? Do they really? Do the prequels suck? Well, everyone has their own opinions, obviously, and I will certainly reserve mine for the end when we've done Revenge of the Sith and all three of the prequel movies. For now, let's just say that when I was sitting in the theater, the words taxation, trade, and shipping did not bother me. I don't even remember reading the trailer, to be honest with you. I was so darn excited to see what was going to happen. I don't even remember the scroll happening. As we open the Phantom Menace, it is also important to note that the year is 32 BBY. We are one generation prior to the events of A New Hope. We are nearing the end of that era where in A New Hope, Obi-Wan refers to
but a more civilized age.
There being a more civilized age. Remember that? Where
For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Before the Dark Times. Before the Empire.
Jedi were the guardians of peace and justice of the Old Republic. This is still the Old Republic. He refers to this is before the Dark Times, before the Empire. At the beginning of Phantom Menace, the Empire does not exist. This is the end of the age that we know as the High Republic. In the original trailer, there were very few Jedi, right? Yoda, Luke eventually, Obi-Wan, who dies, in the first movie, most of the way through the first movie. In the prequel era, there are estimated to be 10,000 Jedi, plus their Padawans, and younglings. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is before the Clone Wars. This is before the Jedi Purge. The Jedi are plentiful. They are an organized group. But as we will see, things are about to change. We open the movie with 2 Jedi ambassadors arriving for trade negotiations. The Trade Federation, we'll get into that in a minute, has put up a blockade around the planet of Naboo. Why did they do that? Well, publicly, it is about taxes and tariffs. And if you are far enough into the future listening to this, you might not understand that in the year 2025, when I am recording these very words, taxes and tariffs are a huge political deal. We cannot sit here and say, oh, tariffs would never make anybody upset. Are you kidding? I don't get into politics on this show, but let's just say that taxes and tariffs right now are making people upset, Let's move on. That's the publicly stated reason. Taxes and tariffs. Secretly, this has been orchestrated by a Sith Lord named Lord Sidious. He's using this to manipulate galactic politics. Who is Lord Sidious? He is a Sith Lord. The Sith are the dark side force users driven to hatred and a lust for power. The Jedi are the light side, the Sith are the dark side. It should be noted that right now, it is unknown who Lord Sidious actually is. Unlike the Jedi, who keep their names when they become Jedi, the Sith change their names. Darth Vader, that's not his real, birth given name. He's changed his name when he turns and falls to the dark side. So these two Jedi arrive for the negotiations, and we meet Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam Neeson. He's a Jedi, and young Obi-Wan Kenobi, played by Ewan McGregor. Qui-Gon is a Jedi Knight. Obi-Wan is his Padawan. In the Jedi Order, there are designated ranks. Youngling is the youngest and least experienced. These are generally 5, 6, 7-year-olds that are found to have a strong burgeoning force power. They go into the Jedi Order and they become younglings and they train in groups and they have classes and so forth and so on. Eventually, you can graduate to become a Padawan. A Padawan is a one-on-one relationship with a Jedi Knight, and it's a mentor relationship. You're one-on-one learning from this Jedi Knight. A Jedi Knight is the next step. You can when you're a Padawan, you can pass the trials, become a knight. Eventually, a knight can become a master. They don't all. Masters can become council members, and they can sit on the Jedi Council. And the council is led by a chief Jedi called the Grand Master. Sometimes there are two at that level, and they are the Grand Master and the Chief Master. So the Grand Master is typically the oldest and or the most powerful, and you go on down through the chain. It's a hierarchy. It's structured. This is how things worked in the High Republic era and on in through the prequel era that breaks down at the end of the Clone Wars. And then because we only have Obi-Wan, Luke, and Yoda, right? So at this point, Obi-Wan is a Padawan learner under the mentorship of Qui-Gon Jinn, who is his master. The negotiations never take place, and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon have to fight their way off the ship and down to Naboo, where they meet Jar Jar Binks, perhaps the most hated character in all of Star Wars. In the words of George Lucas, quote, "We've never had a character like Jar Jar. We've never had someone intended for comic relief," end quote. At the time, I did not enjoy Jar Jar. I still am not a huge Jar Jar fan. I will say that in the animated series, he's a lot more tolerable, and I can look back now at Phantom Menace. My last two watch-throughs in the last couple of weeks, I was not really that bothered by Jar Jar. Lots of people hated Jar Jar Binks. We also at this time meet Queen Padme Amidala, the 14-year-old elected queen of Naboo. Naboo is the planet. They elect their queens, a very short time span. Padme is played by Natalie Portman, who is 17 years old at the time of filming, playing a 14-year-old queen. In order to escape the clutches of the Trade Federation and seek help from the Galactic Senate, the Jedi help the Queen escape from the planet and fight their way through a blockade. By the time they get to the planet, they realize these are not really negotiations. This is probably an invasion, and we need to get the Queen out of here and get help from the Galactic Senate. In doing so, while escaping, we meet R2-D2, one of several droids on the Queen's ship. R2-D2 makes outside repairs to the ship when the other droids fail, and he's rewarded with an audience with the Queen, and ultimately, obviously, becomes very important to the story. But R2-D2, he was just a service droid until he makes this heroic save of the ship. Also at this point, while escaping, we meet Lord Sidious and his apprentice, Darth Maul. Both are Sith. In the Sith, not nearly as structured as the Jedi, there's basically just Master and apprentice. In this case, Lord Sidious is the master. Maul is the apprentice. Maul is from Dathomir. That's another planet. He is Dathomirian, and he was created by the Night Sister Witches and given his dark side powers through dark magic. If you listened to last week's episode, you heard us talk about the Night Sisters a little bit and Darth Maul. I love Darth Maul. Moving on. As far as we know, at this point in the story, there are approximately 10,000 Jedi, 2 Sith. 10,000 Jedi plus their Padawans plus younglings, 2 Sith. As they escape, the Queen's ship is damaged and out of fuel, and they need to stop on a remote planet called Tatooine. Hey, wait, we know Tatooine. Yep, Tatooine is where Luke grew up. Same planet. Obviously, 30 years before we've seen it. In seeking repairs, they meet a 9-year-old slave boy named Anakin Skywalker, who is played by 8-year-old Jake Lloyd. Anakin is 9. Keep that in mind. Anakin has some interesting traits they discover. Number 1, he's a slave. Number 2, he has super fast reflexes, almost like he knows things are going to happen before they actually happen. He also has dreams and premonitions that do come true. He has no father. Immaculate conception. Very high midichlorian count. Now, midichlorians, long story short, are active parts of humans that everybody has. The higher your count, the more force you're able to use. He also seems to be flirting with Padme.
Are you an angel?
What?
An angel. I heard the deep space pilots talk about them. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe.
Look, he's 9, she's 14. And come on, let's be honest. What 9-year-old didn't crush on a 14-year-old that was way out of their league at some point? I did. I know I did. To her credit, Padme is kind to Anakin, but does not appear to be flirting back. Good for you, Padme. You're older, and you shouldn't be flirting with 9-year-olds, so thumbs up, good for you. At Anakin's house, we meet C-3PO. Well, most of him anyway. He doesn't have any outer shell, just sort of the inner workings. Anakin hasn't quite finished building him yet. Yup, Anakin built C-3PO. We've now got most of the pieces of our entourage together. We've got Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. We know about the bad guys. We know about the Trade Federation. We've met our droids. We've got Padme. We got all the, right? This whole opening has to be, here are our characters. And they do it under the guise of trade and the burgeonings of war, but basically we're drinking through a garden hose trying to keep all of our characters straight. On planet, in order to earn money, to buy the parts, to repair the ship, Anakin is going to win a pod race. Okay, what is a pod race? It doesn't matter. They're going to race pods. Look, this is my least favorite scene in this movie, and one of my least favorite scenes in any Star Wars movie. I know that's probably controversial. This pod race is 15 minutes long. It's 11% of the movie. And I like it for about 1.5 minutes. 2 minutes, I'm good. This is fun. It's cute. And then for me, it just drags on and on. It's too long. It's too boring. I'm not a fan. But let's move on. Anakin wins the race. Before leaving the planet, we get a brief but awesome encounter with Darth Maul. Just a bit, just a taste. Qui-Gon and Maul. Don't worry, there is more coming, but in order to get off the planet, they have to fight their way through Maul and sort of escape. We make it back to Coruscant. Coruscant is the capital planet of the galaxy, and where the Senate is, it's where the main Jedi Temple is, and we are in fact in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant, and Qui-Gon is explaining to the Council that he thinks there is a Sith. Like, dudes, I just fought this guy, he's powerful, he knows the Jedi arts, he's talented with a lightsaber, I think this person is a Sith. The Council dismisses that, saying,
My only conclusion can be that it was a a Sith Lord.
Impossible. The Sith have been extinct for a millennium.
I do not believe the Sith could have returned without us knowing.
If the Sith had risen, we would know it. Back to this in a minute. Sitting on the council are Yoda. Of course, we all know Yoda. Also on the council is Mace Windu. He is the chief master, so kind of second in command with Yoda as the Grand Master, played by Samuel L. Jackson. This is a great story. He talks about he had wanted to be in the new Star Wars, and he mentioned it on some talk show like, hey, I would love to be in the new Star Wars. So he gets a call from his agent that George would like to meet him. So they meet, and Jackson asked to, quote, be a stormtrooper or something. Nobody even needs to know it's me, end quote. This is what he says to George. Like, look, just make me a stormtrooper or something. I don't care. I just want to be in the movie. And George says, quote, we'll find you something, end quote. A few months later, he got a call, come to London to be in Star Wars. He goes, no script, nothing. Now, you're Samuel L. Jackson. There are very few movies you're going to show up and like, yeah, no script. No, that does not happen. So he goes to costume fitting and they bring him in boots and Jedi robes. He doesn't believe they're his. They put him in this costume and he asks the costume people, like, who am I? Who even am I in this movie? And they say, you're Mace Windu, Jedi Master. And then they bring him lightsaber hilts for him to pick which hilt he wants. He is in this movie as the chief master Jedi of the Jedi Council and didn't even know he was going to be a Jedi. But that's the power of Samuel L. Jackson. Rumor has it that he also requested the purple blade, and that's why his lightsaber is purple. So anyway, also on the council are Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, Deepa Billaba, and others. But those are the members that are going to be major players later in the Clone Wars. Okay, back to not feeling the Sith presence. Lord Sidious is clearly a Sith master, and Darth Maul both are out there causing chaos, and no Jedi senses it. This is not good. At the same time, they also discuss Anakin being, quote, the chosen one, and they refer to something called the prophecy. They never really read all of the prophecy in any of the movies, but the prophecy said this, quote, a chosen one shall come forth, born of no father, and through him ultimate balance will be restored, end quote. Balance restored. Apparently, the Jedi did not study the meaning of the word balance. There are 10,000 Jedi, plus Padawans, plus younglings, and 2 Sith that you did not sense. And this child that will, quote, bring balance, and you think this is going to be a light side user long term? So you think you need to add to the 10,000 in order to balance out the 2 that you don't even think exist? Balance? Look, this is what I mean when I say that the Jedi missed a lot of stuff and did some screwing up in this entire story. This is one of those things. They misread this prophecy. Why do you need a strong Force user on the side of light when it's already imbalanced? It's 10,000 to 2. And for your sake, it's 10,000 to 0 because you don't even believe that the Sith exist yet. They did not read this prophecy correctly. It's a hot mess express waiting to happen. But okay, let's go with it. It's how the story has to go, right? Also of note here is that Qui-Gon is clearly at odds with the Council. After the meeting, Obi-Wan asks him to please not disobey the Council, and then says the word again. This would not be the first time that Qui-Gon has gone against the Council. Rabbit hole here. One of the main subplot points of the prequels is the fall of the Jedi Order, and not just through mass murder and the Jedi Purge. In the High Republic era, thousands of years before the movie we are watching, prior to this story, most Jedi were far more like Qui-Gon than they were like anybody else. in touch with the Force on a deep level. So far in this movie, Qui-Gon has said things like the living Force, and he is sure that something is the will of the Force. And when they encounter that problem on Tatooine, his response was, I'm sure the Force will present a solution. He is one of the last Jedi who consistently talks like this. Yoda does, but we don't really see Yoda do it all the time. Qui-Gon is eat, sleep, breathe the living Force. Qui-Gon is the last Jedi of a bygone era, and I believe this is the reason he is so often at odds with the Council. He senses the Force. He senses the dark side. He sees what's going on. Does he read the prophecy incorrectly? Yes, he does too. Absolutely on Qui-Gon. Probably that's because he was taught that way as a youngling and a Padawan. He was probably taught about the prophecy and read it incorrectly. The Council is losing its way and having trouble sensing the dark side, having trouble seeing a clear future. This is not a good sign. We also here get Yoda's first words of wisdom in his meeting with Anakin to decide the future. Anakin comes before the Council, and he's asked questions. He's asked, he's kind of an interview. It's kind of like a Jedi interview. Yoda says,
fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. I sense much fear in you.
Fear is the path to the dark side. Bookmark that. He just described Anakin's entire life. Fear, anger, hate, suffering, all stemming from loss of something he has too much attachment to, or multiple things over time lined up one after the other. Yoda does actually sense it. The problem is he didn't do anything about it yet. The Council decides to put on hold the decision on whether Anakin will be trained. We'll circle back to that later. Meanwhile, back to politics. Palpatine, who is the senator from Naboo, is about to be elected Supreme Chancellor. Still on Coruscant for the Senate stuff, Ian McDormand is a brilliant actor who does an incredible job of playing such a complex character as Palpatine. Palpatine is a good guy to Padme, while playing on her emotions and naivety into doing his political bidding in order to make it look like it was all her idea that we should get rid of the old chancellor and get a new one, so that this new chancellor can bring peace and justice to the galaxy. Palpatine is elected Supreme Chancellor, and what can go wrong? Surely nothing. All he wants is peace and justice in the galaxy. We all travel back to Naboo to take care of this Trade Federation thing once and for all. The main epic battle here on Naboo between the Gungans and the droids accidentally ends when Anakin flies his spaceship up and destroys the droid control ship, thus disabling the droid army. Anakin is the hero and probably using the Force to do that. Along the way, we get one of my favorite scenes in all of Star Wars, and that is the Duel of the Fates. It's a three-way lightsaber battle between Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and here he is, Darth Maul. Epic, epic fight. That's the only word I can think of. Notable here is the three different styles, all of which are evident. Maul is aggressive, he's angry, he's stalking his prey. Obi-Wan is young and eager, maybe even a little bit nervous. Qui-Gon is calm and collected. He meditates partway through this fight. Let's keep in mind, the Sith have not risen. For thousands of years, this is the first battle between a Jedi and a Sith for thousands of years. This is the moment when we stop becoming keepers of peace and justice and start a war. This is the beginning of that. The Sith are here. Maul does get the best of Qui-Gon, stabbing him through the stomach, and now it's just Obi-Wan and Maul appears to get the best of Obi-Wan, relieving him of his saber, and even has the high ground at one point, but Obi-Wan performs an incredible flip maneuver over Maul's head, force grabs Qui-Gon's lightsaber, and slices Maul in half, forcing him to fall into the pit. Epic battle, epic music, best scene in the movie, and it's not even close. And as I said, one of my favorite Star Wars scenes. Notable scene at the very end, not to be forgotten. Yoda and Obi-Wan having a one-on-one. Yoda grants Obi-Wan the rank of Jedi Knight. You have to go through a series of trials, typically, to become a Jedi Knight. You don't always know what those trials are, and those trials are not always the same for every Jedi. Oftentimes, you can bypass the trials if you have already proven yourself in a real situation. Assumption here is Obi-Wan's battle with Maul was his trial. He passed the test. Yoda also indicates that he opposes the training of Anakin. Obi-Wan says that it is Qui-Gon's wish and that he will train him even without permission. But the council voted for the training, so he will become Obi-Wan's Padawan. Wait a second. Yoda's the Grand Master of the Jedi Council, and he opposes. We know from earlier that Chief Master Mace Windu is also against it, so unless he changed his mind, he voted against it. So wow, the council voted against its two highest ranking members. And why didn't we see the tension in the room for that meeting? That would have been a great 5-minute scene. The conversation between the two ranking members who oppose and everybody else who wants it, that would have been great. But we didn't see that. Obi-Wan's a knight. Anakin is his Padawan. Qui-Gon is one with the Force. Naboo is free. Palpatine is excited to, quote, watch the career of young Anakin, end quote, and everyone gets a happy ending. Let the party begin and roll credits. This movie was a box office success, but criticized by fans. In fact, it remains criticized by a lot of fans. There was always praise for the visual achievement. The CGI, the scenery, beautiful. And always criticism for the script and the acting. Jake Lloyd, young Anakin, 8-year-old Jake Lloyd, quit acting after this because of all the threats and bullying that he received for his performance in this movie. Natalie Portman has reported her career took a downturn and took a long time to recover following this trilogy. Of course, more established actors like Samuel L. Jackson and Liam Neeson, they were fine. Established actors can have, a bad performance or a bad movie and recover just fine because they have plenty of work behind them that shows their quality. Most people realize that the script and direction is the problem, not the actors. Many people are of the opinion that there was too much focus on scenery and effects and not enough on character development and script, and I am one of those people. That being said, I do really like this movie. It has problems. It is not in my top 5 and will never be. Duel of the Fates, awesome. Qui-Gon, awesome. Padme, love it. Darth Maul, we know he's one of my favorites. Sneaky Palpatine, that all makes it worthwhile for me. By the way, Darth Maul, 8.5 minutes of total screen time, like 5 lines. He gets the least screen time of any major villain in any Star Wars, and it's not even close. So if that's the case, how did he become my favorite? Well, again, and I've said it before, animated Clone Wars. Go, watch it, love it, it's great. Look, like I always say, Star Wars is like pizza. And while this particular Star Wars movie is probably the Little Caesars of pizza in the Star Wars universe, I did eat an entire large Little Caesars pizza earlier this week on my way home from a client's marching band rehearsal. So, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I would rather watch this movie than most other movies in the world, and I would still rather eat Little Caesars. Sure, there's better pizza out there, but it's still pizza. I like this movie. I love Star Wars. Go watch some Star Wars. All right. Hey, happy birthday, Matt.
Thanks.
What are we drinking? It's something neat with Matt. You're our bourbon expert, or at least as expert as
expert as this room in the basement of your house gets.
That's completely accurate. So what are we drinking today?
So it's called 1776, and it is from James E. Pepper Distillery in Lexington, Kentucky.
Okay.
I came across this one pretty early on in my bourbon adventure, and I'm a history buff, and so when I saw 1776, obviously that date sticks out for lots of reasons.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, we can get into that in another podcast. And so I picked it up and I thought, well, let's try it out. It was pretty affordable. I think it was about $28 back then. It's $30 now, because inflation is a big deal. I saw a thing the other day that said with the rate of inflation, it's actually smarter for you to spend your money as fast as possible.
Well, I'm doing a great job then.
Yes, yeah. Well, I'm getting there.
Right.
Anyways, so when I tried this tastes like you're sitting around a campfire with a bunch of soldiers during the Revolutionary War. This is what whiskey tastes like back then.
This tastes like the Revolutionary War?
It does, yes.
So that's sort of like root beer tastes like Abraham Lincoln looks.
I mean, yeah, I guess you could say that.
I mean,
yeah.
It does taste like Abraham Lincoln look. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this one.
Really?
No.
Well, good. More for me.
I guess I don't want to taste the Revolutionary.
You would like, though, because...
So it tastes like dead horses and red wool coats.
That's Elmer's glue.
Elmer's glue.
You would like... Yeah, we can tell. You would like this, though, because you like old fashions.
I do like an old fashioned.
And the history of Colonel James Pepper.
Is he related to Dr. Pepper?
No. Cousins, maybe.
Okay.
But I don't know that there's a direct relation.
Okay. Fair enough.
Couple removals. He spent a lot of time at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm. Famous hotel.
And he would hang out with Rockefeller, Steinway, Pabst, you name it, Teddy Roosevelt,
Titans of industry,
yes,
and so forth.
Yes, and he is considered to be the father of the old fashioned.
Ooh.
And the whiskey that we're drinking is the same recipe that he carried on from his father that started the distillery. So this is pretty much the original whiskey that was used in the old fashioned.
So if we were to make an old fashioned out of this, we would be drinking what they would have been drinking. I'm practically a Rockefeller.
Basically, yeah. But this is the kind of bourbon that when you're sitting at home and it's been a long week,
mm-hmm.
and you just want to sit down,
mm-hmm.
have a cocktail, sit next to the Christmas tree, listen to Christmas music. This is it. This is perfect.
Christmas tree.
Well, yeah. There's a little chill in the air now. It's windy out. It rained all day.
No, spooky season, not Christmas tree season.
Spooky seasons. No,
spooky season, and then turkey season, and then Sidesgiving, and then Christmas. Christmas is a December holiday. We're still in October. This episode will drop. It will be November. We will be past spooky season, but we're in turkey season.
There is no such thing as turkey season.
Yeah, turkey season. Yes, Thanksgiving.
No,
we're giving thanks.
Do you have Thanksgiving decorations?
So are you telling me that you go from Halloween right to Christmas decorations?
To be quite honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, Halloween decorations around our house is a Christmas tree.
So you have your Christmas tree up right now?
Oh yeah. Oh, it goes up. It basically October 1st.
And when do you start listening to Christmas music, by the way?
In the year, or officially to start the season? Because I listen to it on and off. It could be June, and I'll turn on a little Frank Sinatra. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's a million and one things wrong with that. All of the things are wrong with that.
You're just old and grumpy then.
I don't swim in the pool in December, and I don't listen to Christmas music in the summer. There is a season. Look, the Bible says to everything there is a season.
Yeah, okay, but the everything in every season is deviled eggs. I think we can agree on that. That's the only thing in every season.
There is no deviled egg season. It's always deviled egg season. But you have to leave Christmas stuff for December. And you disagree. So here's what we've learned today. This bourbon tastes like the Revolution.
Yes.
Matt loves Christmas all year round.
All the time.
And this is his last time on Symbols and Cynicism. You're fired.
Can you at least play like have yourself a merry little Christmas?
No.
As the playoff?
No. So what grade are you giving the 1776 here? You like this bourbon, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I would give it a solid B.
I would like to have it. I'm going lower than that, but I would like to have it I think it would be very good in an old fashioned.
We'll do that sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about old fashions. We never did that, and now I fired you from the podcast, so we don't get to talk about recipe
you know
for
what?
old fashions.
I guess you're just going to find another expert.
I guess I will. Somebody will just send a message if you are a bourbon expert. We are looking for a new hire. It can be something neat with you.
Great.
Hey, thanks for being here, Matt, and have a good rest of your week.
Yeah.
Enjoy your Christmas decorations and music in your North Pole house.
I will.
No, breathe on your happy place.
People who come and go during a band show. As per usual this fall, I spent a lot of time on Saturdays at Contest. Watching bands, being with bands, all this. Look, Dawn and I talked about it a couple weeks ago, pro tips for parents, and it just still drives me nuts. Look, a marching band show pretty typically is set up in 15-minute blocks, right? A band every 15 minutes. Plus there's judge breaks or dinner breaks or whatever, depending on the length of the thing. It's 15 minutes. And bands don't perform for 15 minutes. Depending on the circuit, shows are like 8 minutes long, right? That 15-minute block is set up, perform, and exit so the next band can come on. Are you telling me that you can't sit for 8 minutes? And I love being at shows where they have the ushers in the ropes, preventing people from coming into the stadium. I love that. Last week at state finals here in Ohio, they had ushers, they had ropes. That is great. Thank you, OMEA. But there's nobody stopping Nacho Joe from coming out of the bleachers. You know, they're up in the top and they think, oh, I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, this show is boring or my butt hurts. I mean, look, maybe there is a legitimate emergency. Maybe they're going to puke. Maybe they're I don't know what's going on. So look, if you're having a heart attack, go ahead and get up, I guess, right? But most of the time, you can't wait to pee. Look, I know that a band show is longer than a TikTok video. But you can do, I believe in you. Those kids on the field and the staffs of those kids on the field have worked so hard to put that show on the field. And even if you don't like that show, even if you don't think it's very good, even if you're not entertained, you can sit for a few minutes and finish this show so that you're not disrupting all the people around you. It's not just about the performers on the field. You're probably not going to interrupt them by coming out of the stands, depending on the loudness of the bleachers. It's the people around you. How do you know the people in front or behind you aren't parents or grandparents or loved ones of the performers? And you're going to get up and like walk down the, excuse me, pardon me. Just look, sit down and watch, and then you can leave. I feel better. Do you feel better? I feel a little bit better. I hope you feel better. There is some homework this week. You got off easy last week. The length of the show, I cut the homework. Go to YouTube and watch the Steve Jobs Stanford commencement speech. Steve Jobs, who passed away a number of years ago, was one of the founders of Apple. And he gives the Stanford commencement speech. I forget what year it is. It's about 15 minutes long. And it is wonderful. It is awesome. He tells stories from his life. He talks about dropping out of college. He talks about how that made him a success. He talks about failure. And he talks about recovering from failure. And it is great storytelling. It is meaningful. And it is, in my opinion, worth 15 minutes of your time to go watch Steve Jobs' Stanford commencement speech, and then to spend an additional 5 minutes thinking about how the dots in your life connect backwards and might connect forwards. What does that mean? Well, you got to watch the YouTube in order to know. So enjoy that. Okay, that's the show. Make sure you leave a rating, drop a comment, or send a message on the app of your choice. You can text the show using the link at the bottom of the description. Check out the merch store at themarchingarts.com/RHS. The link is in the description. I hope you'll join us next week for our BOA Grand Nationals preview discussion with James Stevens of Music for All, National Director of Education and Advocacy. Also, smoked mac and cheese, and let's decide once and for all, is it GIF or JIF? Thanks for joining me today. The theme music is Z Diddle Gok, written by me in 2022. Copyright RHS Music. The show logo is designed by John Suh. The show is produced by my sister, Kathy. I hope you'll join us next time for more reflection and ranting on symbols and cynicism.